I dreamt for so long. My flesh was dull gold, and my blood rotted. Corpse after corpse left in my wake as I awaited his return. Heed my words. I am Malenia, Blade of Miquella, and I have never known defeat.
The demigods play a significant role in Elden Ring's narrative. Radahn and Malenia are two of the most well-known demigods. They are the ones who made Caelid into a hellish place. Both are extensively displayed in the game's introductory cutscene and the moment just before the boss battle with Radahn. After this though, you might have lost sight of Malenia. This is so you can complete the game. Malenia is not a necessary boss. Many gamers will go right past her at Miquella's Helix because she is tucked away in a very isolated area. However, those players who do locate her will face a battle for their own lives. Most people agree that Malenia is the toughest boss in Soulsborne's history. She truly deserves the proverb, "I have never experienced defeat," to be true. Malenia. Who is she? Before we delve into the rich history of Malenia, it is crucial to understand who she is. Radagon and Marika's child is named Malenia. She is also the twin brother of Miquella. As a result, they became inseparable, and their two storylines are tightly related. Malenia vowed to be Miquella's unbeatable bodyguard in order to protect her brother because Miquella always remains in a child's body. Malenia appears to have been affected by the Scarlet Rot at a young age. Although she has the disease, her state is not typical of other patients. It appears that the outer god of Scarlet Rot was imprisoned inside her physical body either soon or possibly even before she was born. Whether Radagon committed this crime or if the outer god itself was to blame is unknown. What is certain is that despite Malenia's strength, her body was unable to resist the rot and gradually degenerated over time. Malenia and the flowers blooming. Extreme stress triggers the blooming of the scarlet flower of Malenia. She gains incredible power as a result of the flower blooming, but her body's level of rot also rises dramatically. We can obtain the Scarlet Aeonia incantation from her memory once we have defeated Malenia. It states, "Malenia's decay gets worse with each bloom of the crimson flower. It has already had 2 blooms. She'll reach the 3rd bloom and become a real goddess." Let's investigate the question of how many times she has bloomed when we fight her. There is evidence to imply that during our battle, Malenia flowered for the 3rd time and attained godhood in the boss room. Her name changes to Malenia, Goddess of Rot, in Phase 2, which is the first and most visible change. Her remembrance is also from the Rot Goddess, not Malenia. We don't have a lot of evidence to support this notion for the first bloom. We are aware that she developed during both our battle and our conflict with Radahn. That leaves 2, but what about the 3rd? Many gamers will mention the enormous scarlet flower that can be seen outside the elevator leading to Malenia's boss battle. Many believe that she once owned the armor in this set before Miquella gave her the prosthesis. According to this idea, Miquella attempted to utilize a flawed gold needle, forcing her to blossom there for the first time, which explains why it cannot be explained given that only Miquella and Malenia were present. Malenia may not actually be dead. There is equal evidence to suggest that our conflict with her was simply her 2nd bloom. Some players disagree with this notion because there is no evidence of Malenia's 1st bloom. According to this belief, one of Millicent's sisters is responsible for the bloom that was outside Malenia's room. Because we don't get any post-battle messages after defeating Malenia, the argument does have some merit. No mention of enemy slain, great enemy slain, or most crucially, God slain as with the Elden Beast. Since From Software would never overlook a small detail like this, some people believe Malenia still needs to bloom. History of Malenia. Malenia's early years are mostly unknown to us, but what we do know is tragic. She had scarlet rot from birth, making her a threat to both herself and others. She committed her life to the heroic task of protecting her twin because she did not want this to define who she was. She had always been skilled with a blade, which is why a famous swordsman in blue who moved like water took her on as an apprentice. Malenia had perfected her blade play to the point where, even without a shield, she was an unstoppable force. She practiced using the sword before escaping with her devoted brother, who assured her he could treat her scarlet rot. Miquella would need to produce something that might counteract the impact of an outer god in order to accomplish that though. If their father Radagon learned about this heresy, they would undoubtedly be put an end to it. As a result, Miquella built his Halictree, where the two spent a considerable amount of time living secretly. We don't know precisely when, or how Malenia initially began to blossom, if it was before her conflict with Radahn, as was previously mentioned. Malenia, however, eventually started to lose her limbs to the Scarlet Rot. Due to this, Miquella developed golden prostheses that could only slow the spread of the Scarlet Rot. What followed is tragically what happened. Invading Caelid's territory, Radahn apparently had plans that would have put the lands between in danger all the way to Miquella's Halictree. Malenia hurried off to confront Radahn and Caelid because she was the only demigod who could handle doing so. Miquella finished his golden needle and sent it off with Captain O'Neill to reach Malenia before her scarlet flower bloomed, while two things also transpired at the Halictree. Miquella sheltered himself in his Halictree in the interim, where if left unattended he would hatch into a god. Evidently, the needle never reached Malenia, and when her scarlet flower opened, it decimated the Caelid region. Radahn was not destroyed, but the Scarlet Rot caused him to go insane, making it impossible for him to carry on his rampage. Malenia was injured during the struggle and went into a coma. It was only Finlay, a renowned Clean Rot knight, who helped her wake up and make it back to the Halictree. When we met her for the boss fight, Finlay pulled her unconscious body back and set her up on the chair. Malenia never noticed that Miquella was not to be found because she was in a coma when we first saw her in combat. Taking advantage of her absence, Moog, Lord of Blood, broke into the Halictree and abducted Miquella, who was completely defenseless inside his cocoon. In the end, Malenia was affected by the Scarlet Rot and lost her brother, her remedy, and probably even her identity. Her story is heartbreaking, so it's probably for the best that we put her to sleep before she learns the truth about her brother's location. And that is the story of Malenia. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.